Yo, what is up guys, Face here and welcome back to another video. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day, and today I want to be going over the XM66F, a tier 10 American tank destroyer. It's a collector's vehicle, and if you didn't know, this tank is the main reward in the winter fair, basically the Christmas event that is currently going on in the game. If you want to know exactly how to complete this event and everything you'll need to know about it, I do have a video suggestion either at the end of this video, or you can just go to my channel page and you will find that video where I discuss this entire event fully. However, this tank is currently in the snow globes, and if you are lucky enough, you can land yourself on this tank. Now, this vehicle is extremely rare currently, and obviously it is in snow globes, and it is the only way you can get your hands on the vehicle. Today I'm going to be doing a full review on this vehicle, letting you know if it is worth it to gamble your gold and get the tank. Now, I don't really suggest gambling, and this entire event, if you do want to get this tank, there is some sort of gambling going to have to happen, because you're going to have to spend a hell of a lot of gold and you won't be guaranteed that you get anything. So if you do manage to get your hands on the XM66F, I'm also going to be letting you know exactly how you can take full advantage of this vehicle. I'm also going to be letting you guys know exactly how to dominate this vehicle if you come across it on the battlefield. With that being said, let's head straight into it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be going over is the equipment that I currently run on this vehicle. Now, first of all, I may change this first equipment slot from gun rammer to calibrated shells, but currently I've only played a few games in it. And talking about the only few games I played, out of those few, maybe 3 or 4 games that I played, I did get a pretty nice game. Not a mastery or anything, but it is a lot of damage and a lot of kills, and that is what the game I'm going to be going over. So currently, I haven't really tested enough with the vehicle, but I do find that gun rammer is pretty nice, and the pen on this vehicle isn't bad if you do decide to run gun rammer. The second one in the row, I'm running enhanced gun lane drive as well as vertical stabilizer. If I ever suggest you to run the enhanced gun lane drive, it will always be along with the vertical stabilizer, because together it makes a tank very accurate, especially if it is moving. On the second row, I'm running improved modules, enhanced armor, and enhanced tracks. That just makes the tank a lot more durable, and I would highly suggest you to run those identically to what I have there. On the last row, I'm running improved optics, engine accelerator, and high-end consumables. Those are pretty straightforward, and I would suggest you to run them as well. Ammo, there's nothing serious, provisions either, and consumables wise, there's also nothing special about the vehicle. However, I will note that I do suggest you to run adrenaline instead of the engine power boost, because adrenaline is obviously way more important. So I won't be going over the armor in Armor Inspector today, just because Droodles has recently released his video regarding this vehicle. So if you'd like to check the armor in Armor Inspector and fully see how you can take advantage of the tank, I would suggest you to go look at Droodles. However, I'm just going to do a straightforward representative of how this vehicle can be penned and basically, when you look at this tank, you want to look at the lower plate on the tank and never at the turret, because the turret is exactly what is the strongest on the vehicle. If you're playing a very high-end tank that has a lot of pen, like the Jagdpanzer E100 for example, you can pen this flat box in some areas on the cheeks here, and this hatch can be penned as well. So just keep that in mind, as well as if this vehicle is slightly slanted, you can almost guarantee yourself a pen through the back end of the vehicle here in this engine compartment. With that being said, let me head into that game that I was talking about. Now, this game was on Canyon, and it is actually a very nice map for a tank like the XM66F, because if you didn't know, this vehicle is your generic American vehicle. It has a lot of gun depression and a very strong turret, like I mentioned. So that already should tell you that you should be going held down. And held down, I'm not really going to get into the gist of what that truly means, but basically you want to hide the lower part of your tank and make sure that you're only showing your turret on this vehicle, because that is obviously the strongest armor on the tank, and you are guaranteed to get some shots bounced off your vehicle. Now, I'm going to say this vehicle is nothing like a tank that is going to bounce a hell of a lot of shells, because it really isn't. If you're going to play this tank frontline, I do suggest you to always be held down and never bite more than you can chew, because you will get into situations where this tank gets absolutely penned, because the armor, while it is very good held down, I'm going to say that again, it is not the greatest when you are not held down. Now, one thing I did notice on this vehicle is that it has very good camouflage ratings. Now, as you saw there, an E75 was able to push right in front of me, and mind you, the E75 doesn't have much view range, but as you saw there, he was able to push directly in front of me, and I was not spotted by him, which is very cool. The medium tanks were also able to get to the side there, and now I do want to mention that I am able to pen that Type 71 there, no problem. I am using heat, and I am currently slightly above him, and I'm shooting his upper plate, which is actually very strong on the Type 71. You're going to see in a second that he is slightly angled, and I do still manage to pen him no problem. And this is what I mean by running gun rammer, because this tank has an incredible DPM. It's all the way up there to 3,500 DPM, and on a tank destroyer that is actually very, very nice. And this, for a tank destroyer, this tank is also extremely maneuverable, means that you can get into positions like I am right now very, very fast. And that currently just means that this tank is overall fantastic. As you can see at this angle, I do somehow bounce it, but I do believe that hit either the very top end of his upper plate or just slightly his upper turret area there. But it does manage to pen the second time, which is very nice. And as you can see, I am running gun rammer, and I can get that DPM extremely good, running 462 rolls. Another thing that's really good on this vehicle is that alpha. I will say that the heat does seem to low roll often, and when you do run your heat rounds on this vehicle, you do often hit some very bad rolls under 300. Now I'm pausing here for a second because I don't know if you just noticed that, but the accuracy is also incredibly accurate. I was able to hit that Type 71 no problem while he's moving, and while I am also moving, I was able to snap a shot into his upper turret there. Almost looked like it went through his hatch, and yeah, that just shows you how accurate this vehicle can be. And overall, currently this vehicle has been a very solid tank up until this point, and it carries to perform until the later stages of this game, which you'll have to wait and see. Now at this point, I do manage to spot the Object 268 flanking on our side, and I do think that I want to farm him out because, like I said, this tank has a hell of a lot of DPM, especially when you use adrenaline. This tank can bump up that DPM incredibly well. Now in this situation, I do risk the entirety of my hit points to the whole people at the behind of me. I do risk my entire tank to the rest of the guys behind me here, but I take the risk, and I reverse up here, showing my booty to everybody over there, and I do manage to put a few shells into that Object 268 before he drops down, which is a big help for my team because it does mean that they do manage to clear him at the later stages of this game. Currently I have 1 kill, but that is about to change. I tried to aim directly where I got the ammo rack criticalized on that E75, but I don't manage to break it. However, I do manage to break his engine, which keeps him in place and gives me that kill. I do notice now that the VK72 is looking at me, and I currently over push behind me here, falling off the hill, which wastes a bit of my time, but I am able to get up this hill very nice because the tank does have a decent power to weight ratio. And in this situation, as you can see, the heat, I'm not even having to aim here, guys. I'm just freeballing it and still penning those tanks. And then one of the most strongest tanks armor-wise on the enemy team. And I'm still able to pen him no problem with my heat shells. And this is why, and a clean representative of why I think you should still be running gun rammer on this tank instead of calibrated shells. Because, mind you, I am bouncing those shells, and if I did have calibrated shells, that would have been a 100% chance of penning there. However, I am able to dump out a hell of a lot more damage if I am running gun rammer on this vehicle, and that is why I suggest you to run it. Now, I am just spamming a few rounds here, hoping somehow something hits, and at that point, it did hit there. And while, mind you, the accuracy I do mention is pretty good, it is not always going to be Leopard 1 style accuracy. I do find that the tank does become unreliable in some situations and can miss a few easy shells. Again, I am just farming out the enemy team right now. I'm hull down, means that nobody can pen me. I'm using that fantastic gun depression to get my tank as strong as it can be and use my DPM as much as it can without exposing my tank too much. In this scenario, I do bounce another shell onto the side of that VK72, and if I did have calibrated shells, I would have maybe perhaps cleared this VK a lot sooner. However, it is still enough to go straight through his turret and kill him in the end. The DPM on this vehicle also means that I can pull up forward here, kill that Foch, and look around for the last remaining player, which is a Bat Chat. Now, in this scenario, you don't really want to be solo as a tank destroyer. Mind you, does have good mobility, but it's nothing crazy that you can compare yourself to a light tank. So in this scenario, I'm trying to put myself in the middle of the map where I can potentially spot him, but also I don't want to get completely farmed out. Obviously, he can over spot me, and that wouldn't have been a great choice. So what this also allows me to do is cap the base if need be, but they are on upper caps here, and their light tank is about to do a very stupid mistake here. Instead of running away and winning on caps, he is going to rush me. So let's see how that actually works out for him. Now, I do spot him here. He pushes right on me, and I just try to reverse up until this rock here so that he doesn't get past me, and I just managed to get it. I also do 170 ram damage to him, which allows me to make him a 2-shot just about. It would have been a 2-shot regardless, but it just makes it a lot easier to kill him at this point. He now runs off the cliff, and instead of running right, he runs left, and it means that I'm able to put my last shell into him. Now, I do want to mention how quick was I able to completely traverse my entire vehicle. Now, I haven't mentioned it up until this point, but this tank does not have a fully traversable turret, which basically means you cannot turn the turret in a 360 degree. It moves almost 180 to either side, which does hinder your ability to aim at vehicles that are trying to circle you. However, that ability to actually move the turret even just 180 degrees is way better than having a locked turret, for instance, on a Object 268. So in that scenario, the traverse speed and turret traverse speed means that I'm able to completely turn my tank almost in a 360 degree in order to kill that Batchat before he is able to get away. And that is what makes this vehicle so great, is that its combination of its gun depression, its DPM, its fantastic armor when held down, and its great maneuverability overall just means that this vehicle can be completely busted on the battlefield if used correctly. Now, this was a perfect game for the vehicle. I was able to go hull down, farm out the enemy team, and use that great camera rating that it does have, surprisingly, and that great DPM to completely bust open that enemy team and cause them to lose that game. I end up killing 5 of the enemy team here, which is just busted. That great DPM and great reload time means that you can put shells out very frequently and a very reliable rate. That means that you can kill targets very efficiently. I do also pull out 6.8k damage, close to 7,000 damage, which would have probably gotten me that mastery that I unfortunately didn't manage to receive here. I also block over 1,800 damage here, 1,900 to be exact, and that's, mind you, not the most damage you can block in a game, but it does kind of just show you there how strong and formidable this vehicle can be overall, because I did end up damaging 6 enemies on the enemy tanks on the enemy team here and killing 5 of them, like I mentioned. I am obviously the top of the tree here and managed to be the one that did the most damage, which is very nice and is mostly going to be the case when playing this vehicle because of how busted the DPM is on this tank. Now, let me know what you guys think of this review on the vehicle. My overall opinions of the vehicle is that, mind you, it can be extremely busted in most games, but you are going to find that some games you do kind of wish that the tank had overall better armor, and that little engine deck at the back here, and by little I mean massive engine deck here, does get you confused sometimes, because if you just over angle just a little bit, you are going to get penned through there, and it does take you by chance sometimes that you're kind of shocked that that does happen. But overall, gun depression, armor, mobility, and everything about the gun is fantastic, and I would highly suggest you to wait for this vehicle to be cheaper. I wouldn't suggest you to go and gamble your gold in any way, shape, or form in order to get this tank. It is a great tank, don't get me wrong, but it is nothing extravagant compared to something like the Kampfpanzer 50-ton, the T95E6, and many other tanks in the game that I would say go and spend all your gold on to go and get your hands on it. It's a fantastic tank, but do I think you need it? Definitely not, and I wouldn't tell you what to do with your own money, but I'm going to give you an opinion, and I wouldn't really suggest getting the vehicle if you necessarily aren't a collector and you are not really going to play competitive in tournaments, because I do kind of see this vehicle being a competitive tank in tournaments just because of how overall it is just a fantastic tank. But I must say that the HP on the vehicle isn't the greatest, and it does feel like you are going to lose health a hell of a lot quick if you don't play your cards correctly. Anyways, guys, that has been it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know what you thought about it below, and I will check you in the next one. Hopefully your shots hit their marks, and I'll check you in the next one. Cheers.